All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into something that's absolutely central for any student of forensic psychology, the mind of the economic criminal. We're going to explore what makes them tick and the frameworks you'll use to understand their actions.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to nail down what we're actually talking about. Then, we'll walk through two key models you'll definitely see in your coursework. After that, we'll get right inside the offender's head, and finally, we'll see how this all applies to some huge real-world cases.
So, first things first, what do we actually mean when we say economic crime or white-collar crime? It's a term you hear all the time, but for our purposes, we need to be precise.
We're talking about things like fraud, embezzlement, insider trading. You see the list. But the common thread, the thing that really ties all of these together, is that they aren't street crimes. They are profound breaches of trust committed by people from the inside, people in positions of authority. And the impact here is just staggering. These crimes are often invisible, but studies estimate that the average organization loses about 5% of its annual revenue to fraud. And what's wild is that these schemes can run for over a year before anyone even catches on.
Okay, so to figure out how this happens, your field uses models to deconstruct the behavior. The most foundational one, the one that's been in textbooks for decades, is the fraud triangle.
The theory is pretty simple, actually. It says that for a major fraud to happen, three things usually have to be present. First, there's a pressure or a motivation, like debt or greed. Second, there's a perceived opportunity, a weakness in the system they think they can exploit. And third, there's rationalization, the story they tell themselves to make it okay.
Now, this is a great framework, but from a forensic psychology standpoint, does it really tell the whole story? I mean, why is it that two people can face the exact same pressures and have the exact same opportunities, but only one of them actually commits the crime? What's the missing piece?
Well, that very question led to an evolution of the model. Let's look at a more modern take that adds a crucial psychological layer, the fraud diamond.
So the fraud diamond takes those original three elements and says, wait, that's not enough. It adds a fourth critical point, capability. The idea is that pressure, opportunity, and an excuse aren't enough on their own.
So, what is capability? It's not just about an opportunity existing, it's about having the right personal skills and the specific traits needed to see that opportunity, to grab it, and to actually succeed in pulling off the crime.
And this is where the psychology really comes into play. We're talking about someone who doesn't just have the right job or the right knowledge. We're talking about someone with the nerve to lie convincingly, someone who can handle the incredible stress, and often someone with a powerful ego that makes them believe they're smart enough to get away with it.
This brings us right to the core of what you'll be studying. What is actually going on inside the mind of an economic criminal?
It is so important to remember that it's rarely just one thing. It's usually a cocktail of factors. You have motivations driven by ego or a desperate need for status. You have cognitive tricks that help them shut down feelings of guilt. And then you have personality. You'll study the dark triad, narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy, traits often found in what some researchers call corporate psychopaths.
This idea of victim perception is absolutely critical. Think about it. There's a huge psychological difference between stealing from your neighbor and defrauding a giant, faceless corporation or thousands of anonymous investors you'll never meet. That distance makes it so much easier to rationalize the behavior and neutralize any feelings of guilt.
Okay, let's take these theories out for a spin. We're going to apply the fraud diamond and what we know about psychological profiles to some real cases, from historical giants to the new digital frontier.
Technology has completely changed the landscape here. It has created opportunities on a scale we've never seen before. A simple phishing scam, for instance, relies on that psychological distance. The victims aren't people, they're just lines of data, making it psychologically easier to deceive and steal from them.
Let's start with the man who wrote the playbook, Charles Ponzi. His scheme was pretty basic, but his success was all about his capability. He had this magnetic charm and unshakable confidence that were key tools in convincing people to believe in impossible returns.
Bernie Madoff is a perfect case study for the fraud diamond. He had the motivation, the opportunity, and plenty of rationalizations. But what made his crime the biggest in history was his capability. His stellar reputation and his authority on Wall Street were the very things that allowed him to defraud so many for so long.
And this doesn't just happen with individuals. Take the LIBOR scandal. This wasn't one bad apple. It was a conspiracy among traders at huge banks. The rationalization here was amplified by a group culture, a shared belief that everybody's doing it.
That collective mindset enabled financial manipulation on a truly global scale.
And this brings us to a final thought, a question for you to really chew on in your studies. The tools and the opportunities for economic crime are changing every single day. So, how will the psychological profiles of the offenders change too? What new kinds of capabilities will define the next big fraud? Answering that? Well, that's the challenge your field is going to face.